Note the disclaimer.
A frightening image of the future.
Eee! I think the more frightening visage here is that there seems to be no sign of any overhead text until 6 seconds into the review. But don't let my shock disturb you. Continue.
A frightening image of the future as we see garbage stacks as high as the tallest buildings, creating their own skyline. Mainly due to its visual, humorous, exciting storytelling, this movie kicks CinemaSins' ass so much in the first half, we're going to remove 3 sins right off the bat. It's the anti-CinemaSins movie, really, since so much of it is anti what other movies do. See? Even the sin counter doesn't obey.
Aha. Well, I appreciate the sin removals right at the beginning. However, much like Vader and Luke pointed out, I can't let the missing overhead text slide.
In the future, you can train cockroaches to be like dogs. I can't wait to see the Sarah McLachlan commercials for these poor bastards.
Disagree on the highest regards. Primarily because this cockroach here isn't Wally's pet. More like a close friend of his.
How did this society so dependent on fossil fuel ultimately decide to put solar panels on something as small as a PA system? Or did the Wallies do that because they like the song so much? I'm sinning it either way, so take your pick.
Actually, now that you mention it, I do remember that Wally is generally fascinated with human behaviours and artefacts, so it's possible he may have added the solar panels, but, like Luke said, there's not enough evidence for that assumption. And even if it were true, why would you sin it?
Filmmaker said, hey, let's take Johnny Five from Short Circuit and put him in a bleak future with no humans where he's stuck stacking up trash. And now I'm depressed as all hell.
Jeremy, Short Circuit called and they want their robot back.
Robot main character rides by multiple dead copies of himself, leaving me to wonder why this one Wall-E was left alive after all the others failed. Was it his compassion for roaches?
No, I'm not holding your hand for this one. Cross the street on your own. You're twice my age, mate.
Gotta say, the use of actual humans in this cartoon footage is a little unsettling. It's not like we see actual humans later when Wall-E goes into space, so what's up with this?
Sinning a stylistic choice. That's a new one for this channel. Anyway, to paraphrase Headache once more, this is there to inject a touch of reality and humanity into the artificial. And I guess you can't get any more humanity than by using actual humans. Sure, seeing these scenes can be a little jarring, but it's the basis that the passengers later on in the film had almost lost their humanity and all sense of realism by virtue of all the creature comforts aboard the ship. And this footage is all to show what was missing from the abandoned Earth and the 700 years aboard the Axiom.
Pilot, chart a course for non-stop entertainment, fine dining, and with our all-access hover chairs.
I mean, we hereby interrupt this largely dialogue-free movie opening to bring you a ton of dialogue-heavy exposition.
Except this is necessary to explain where the humans are and why the planet is looking incredibly barren and like a supermassive landfill. If this wasn't there, audiences like yourself would be confused as to why Wally is on his own.
Wow, look at all these human non-robot trinkets this asshole is stored up. This worker robot seems to have just enough personality to qualify as AI, basically. He has a favorite movie, obsesses about cleanliness, collects trinkets, and crushes on a girl robot. They should have called this movie AI and saved about 3 letters and a dash.
Except that wouldn't work since there's already a movie called AI.
I'm also compelled to ask how a robot so beholden to his programming that he's still compacting trash long after the other Wall-E units have broken down is still so free-thinking to have collections and favorite movie scenes and cockroach friends. Is this AI or is it a slave bot? You can't have it both ways, damn it.
Actually, you can. Because Wally can still be a free-thinking robot while also fulfilling his directive. In other words, it's like a job to him. Meanwhile, you there, Jeremy, don't seem to have any free will. Maybe Grand Etermias is right. You do need a vacation.
The Twinkies and cockroaches survive the apocalypse cliches, finally get married and have a baby.
That's more of a lifelong running joke, not a cliche.
Why doesn't he do this just before sundown? At least a little bit, so his morning routine isn't so full of I might actually die moments.
Either he forgot, or it was a too tired to function gag. Either way, sin on you.
When Wall-E runs over his pet cockroach, we can clearly hear crunching and cracking, yet it gets back up with no problem. Sorry kids, this cute roach is dead.
Jeremy fails to realise an animated movie can make up its own rules cliché.
Thankfully this plant doesn't have deep roots, or else Wall-E would have just crushed humanity's chance at a new home.
So you sin it. What amazing logic.
Also, luckily Wall-E finds proof that the Earth can still grow plants just minutes before Eve shows up, a robot built to detect and report such things.
Okay, and? Can you explain how that's supposed to be a sin?
We find out later that this red light is from a spaceship that has many red lights, so how did this one escape and have a mind of its own?
Except that's not what's happening here. Like Captain Vader said and Luke repeated, so this would technically be a three-peat, but the ship was looking for a place to land, and it's too far high up, hence why the rest of the dots aren't close to this one.
Eve shoots some sort of plasma ray that causes a mushroom cloud, and Wall-E survives it.
Hang on, didn't you mean discount Light Fury? After what you said during How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World?
This dragon meat cute is so Wall-E that I'm half expecting Toothless to start showing her Hello Dolly using a series of cave drawings any minute now.
Really? Wally? That's the comparison you draw? What, just because of the fact that the love interest is a crisp white with blue eyes? Or because she shot a plasma bolt at a tree? Oh, well, it's going to be fun bringing this up when I end up covering Wally in the future. Told you I was going to bring that up. Anyway, Wally managed to avoid that blast by hiding behind a section of the boulder that didn't take any damage.
Wally.
Roll credits.
Seriously? It's his name. The characters are going to be saying it constantly.
Robot sneeze.
Oh, come on, that was cute! Also pointing things out on the screen.
Just how f***ing big are that toaster's bread holes? Jesus.
Like Luke said, big enough to fit the videotape.
There's no way on Earth, future or present, that she hit him hard enough to indent steel like this without also destroying him in the process. But whatever. Good visual gag, y'all.
First off,
Setting something you like.
secondly,
Well, if that's what the movie is saying happened, then it's what happened.
though we will add a slight caveat to Luke's claim here, as when Eve goes to check on him, we later see that he has a busted eye from the accident. So he's not completely unscathed.
What the hell is this shit? This is basically the Benny and June of robot movies.
Here we go again, sinning slapstick. Inconsistently too, I might add, since you liked him getting flung into the wall earlier.
Eve's up till now autonomous nature is completely overtaken by native programming once she sees a sign of life. Why was she ever autonomous in the first place?
To find a sign of life, so that the humans can go back to Earth. Also, like Luke pointed out, you only capitalize one letter in Eve's name despite having done all caps previously. And apparently he does it again a few more times, so I'll just add on the amount of times he only capitalized one letter in her name.
Wall-E gets struck by lightning twice in rapid succession, because this movie is either trying too hard to show how selfless he is, or is making a weird Jim Caviezel parallel I was unprepared for.
And thus marking the second time you've mentioned Caviezel here. Though I'm fairly certain he probably doesn't like being reminded of that. Meanwhile, for this scene, it was most certainly the former.
Wall-E finally goes off to work and stops waiting for Eve to come back online. How much you want to bet this is the exact same day the space humans come for Eve? God damn it!
Sinning coincidence.
Wall-E is addicted to alien robots.
Bro, these aren't alien. The humans made those to better their lives aboard the space cruiser.
Also, this robot decides not to start from the beginning of the tread marks and leaves an entire section of floor unclean.
He only noticed it from the left-hand side heading to the elevator, and didn't realise he could hop off the designated travel line until now. In other words, Mo would be excellent at CinemaSins.
Wow.
So look, I agree that if a bunch of people from Earth, especially Americans, were shot into space and they were on permanent hold until Earth was habitable again, most of them would turn into these bunch of fat lazy assholes. But all of them? You know there would be at least 10% of the group annoyingly thin, jogging around the ship, eating vegan, and tracking kale everywhere.
Maybe at the beginning of the 5-year cruise, but after 700 years? I think several of them would have given up caring.
Time for lunch. In a cup.
This is Pixar's most biting satire to date. Before this movie, all the messaging in Pixar films had been self-esteem related and feel good. Toy Story is be a kid again. Cars was slow down and enjoy life. Bug's Life was if you're a misfit, be a proud one and you can contribute. But this movie's all like, yo, America, you were fat and lazy. And you know what? I think they're dead on with this exaggerated future of bring everything to me and put everything in a cup so I can sip it. And I'm even going to take one sin off for Pixar being right in its ballsiest film messaging to date.
Appreciate the sin removal, but the message of this film isn't a self-esteem crushing, you're fat and lazy. Sure, that may be what we see here, but the message is more anti-consumerism and showing how these people have lost their humanity after being blinded by all these by and large technologies. Not to mention you brought up cars in your video, and all you did was complain. I know, because Birdman, Luke, CinemaSins, Sins, and myself had all covered this video. So I'm going to have to do my due diligence here.
Home? We're going back?
If the evil ship's computer steering thing behind this guy is truly evil and trying to stop the return to Earth, as the rest of the movie will suggest, why does it even allow the captain to press the button and see this message in the first place?
Much like the rest of the robots on this ship, Auto is fulfilling a directive. So in showing a positive report, he's proving the captain can still have trust in him until later performing the coup d'etat.
Operate Manuel.
Haha, but Fred Willard literally said manual twice during that presentation, including 1 second before you looked at the manual.
Step 1. Voice command. Confirm acquisition.
Confirm acquisition.
Okay, so how are you reading this shit when you couldn't even pronounce Operation Manual just before this?
My bet is there's probably words he does know and words he doesn't. In fact, probably confirm acquisition would have already been said to him as preparedness for if and when a plant specimen is found.
No.
Know yourself. Bad, Jeremy.
Caution. Rogue robots.
Why would the robot security team bother to inform all the people about rogue robots when they can simply arrest them right now?
In case they escape before the stewards can place them into custody.
Instead of closing the pod door and making sure he stays on the pod, Eve turns around and glides towards some unseen control panel to ensure Wally escapes again.
Yes, because like Vader pointed out and Luke repeated, that unseen control panel is supposed to close the pod. She's just about to do what you said she should be doing, and you're sinning her for it.
Here comes Wally riding his fire extinguisher. But damn, he had 1 second left before the pod destructed, and he still didn't get the door open at that time. Don't you think he's dead?
It's called subverting expectations, Jeremy. You know, the same thing you did in your How to Train Your Dragon 3 video during Grimmel's introduction.
Then the director said, let the character stand in the shadows with only his eyes lit so we know for sure he's evil. You know, since we ran out of apples. Then the director said, what's that? We do have an apple left? Well, let's have him eat it, just in case people weren't sure by the light thing that our villain is truly an asshole.
Basically, the expectation here is that Wally didn't survive the explosion because the pod was 1 second away from detonating, but then the movie subverts it by showing us Wally gliding past Eve on the fire extinguisher he removed from the wall. So how is it you can understand this trope enough to use it in your video, but misunderstand when a movie does it?
What would happen to an Earth plant exposed to space? Dr. Tyson? Oh, snap, we got him for Interstellar, not this. Well, I'm sinning it then. If humans choke and freeze to death in seconds, I'm guessing regular plants suffer some serious consequences that this movie is completely glossing over.
Okay, so you may not have Neil deGrasse Tyson on the horn, but you do have Google. Vader and I both used it to find an article about this, and yes, under specific circumstances, you can grow plants in space. Plus, Eve immediately puts it in her torso receptacle so that it doesn't wilt or freeze up.
Way to waste your propulsion substance, ass.
First off, calling this adorable little garbage compacting robot an ass. Secondly, you say this as if Eve isn't right there beside him. In fact, if you didn't cut this scene to pieces, you'd see that when this fire extinguisher does run out, Eve scoops him up and flies him back to the cruise liner.
Security cam footage will now conveniently tell Eve what she should already know, that Wall-E loves her and sacrifices himself for her. Thank God for the kind of romantic comedy love-proof real-life humans never actually get.
Mate, she was offline for the entire thing until she was rebooted at the Axiom. And this is part of her character. She doesn't realise things like Wally is in love with her because she's focused on fulfilling her directive, but then takes on a different approach by the end of the movie, thanks to Wally's influence.
This asshole is such a slave to his cleaning program, it makes me wonder how Wall-E ever fell in love with Eve instead of just ignoring her to do his program task.
Again, much like Luke and Vader pointed out, not capitalising all the letters in Eve here.
I insist you give me the plan.
Discount homage HAL 9000.
So which is it? Discount or homage? I would have gone with Gladys's grandpappy, but still.
Even humans, as stupid as they are, would say you look stupid when you do that.
Oh no!
Eva?
Movie steals 90% of its dialogue template from Titanic.
Okay, how am I receiving a phone call from a literal ship?
Wall-E rips off the zero-point energy from The Incredibles.
Disagree that it's a rip-off, since both movies were made by Pixar.
Villain makes classic stupid-ass mistake of sending his nemesis and said nemesis' helper to the same place.
Didn't he almost kill Wall-E, though? And deactivate Eve? With the intention that they be ejected into space by the Wall-E units? Until the Remies reactivated Eve? Side note, the reason I knew that these rats were called Rem-E's was because of a splash screen I saw in the PS2 Wall-E video game.
Mo blocks the doors ex machina.
No! He is not a Deus Ex Machina. Mo's been trailing Wall-E since he stowed away onto the cruise liner and left muddy track marks all over the ship. All he's been trying to do is clean the track marks and give Wall-E a proper bath, which somehow leads him down to the... what's the correct technical term here for landfill? They are in space. Spacefill? I'm rolling with it. Which somehow led him down to the spacefill, and being more focused on following his directive, mistimed his movement to Wall-E that he jammed the doors. As well as the fact that Mo doesn't immediately get them out of harm's way, the Wall-E's do that. Also, his name is spelled M-O, not M-O-E.
Why can't the guard robot use the same death grip ray on Eve that it's using on this other robot?
Hello, imbecile.
The steward is occupied. and it only has the one ray.
The captain smartly retrieves the image of Wall-E and the plant, so he can trick the evil robot into thinking he has it. Problem is, the captain didn't see this part of the transmission, because Eve was alone when that image came up, so he shouldn't even know this exists.
Now you're just not thinking.
He could have rewound the recordings to find that image.
Now the movie's stealing the ending of Titanic.
At least all the Axiom passengers live.
You may have forgotten by this point, due to all the adventure and action that has occurred since we last really saw him, that Wall-E can barely move because a motherboard inside him is damaged. But I guess the power of robo-owners can give you strength in certain situations.
Jeremy says boner.
Tiny electrical spark will somehow return Wall-E's memory loss, because that's how electronics work.
This isn't our reality. Hang on. Did you say return his memory loss? Did you mean to say restore his memory?
Baby instantly kills the only plant Earth has with whatever the hell is in that cup.
You mean water? Because if you look at the dirt mounds in the final sweeping shot, there's now more greenery on the planet.
When Wall-E appears for a mini end credit sequence, he changes the Pixar lamp's light bulb, replacing it with a CFL bulb to be more environmentally friendly. But when Pixar returns next year with Toy Story 3, that asshole has his old environmentally wasteful bulb back in.
First off, sending this hilarious gag. Secondly, you said Toy Story 3 came out the year after, but that film was released in 2010 and this film came out in 2008. The next year, however, would be 2009, and that year's Pixar movie was Up! Next time, do a little more research before trying to come up with these sins. Otherwise, you're just going to piss off your audience as well as us reviewers. And with all that, court is adjourned. Be sure to leave any more suggestions for CinemaSins sins down below, and I will see you in the next video.